All right, this is going to be the first video for Notes 31, and the first topic that we're going to do in this video is on area and circumference of a circle. There are going to be two formulas that you need to know. The area formula, which is area equals pi r squared or r squared pi, and please understand, r is your radius. Okay, r is your radius value. And then circumference. Circumference is the distance around the circle. All right, if you were to walk around the circle, what distance would it take you? And that's actually one of two formulas. The one that's written on your page is circumference is equal to pi d or d pi. The other way you can write this is circumference is equal to 2 pi r. All right, now r in the formula that I just wrote is exactly the same as the r in the radius, all right, r in the area formula, so that's radius. And d in the circumference equal to d pi, d is your diameter. Okay, so if we're talking about circles, okay, problem number one here, I ask you to find the area and circumference of a circle. So first thing you want to do is figure out what you're given. And in the problem that you have, you are given, right, this is going to be our center of our circle. From the center to an edge is a radius, so I know that the radius is 6. So if I need to find the area equals r squared pi, and I'm going to replace r with what I know it equals. So area is equal to 6 squared pi, and that's going to give me area equals 36 pi. Now I do want to attach units. All right, so 36 pi inches, and since we're talking about area, this is going to be inches squared. So there is my area. Okay, but I also ask for a second piece. And the second piece I'm asking for is the circumference of the circle. Now, given the fact that I've shown you two different formulas here, you can do one of two things. You can either take your radius and figure out what the diameter is, or you can use circumference equal to 2 pi r. I'm going to go ahead and use that second formula. Circumference is equal to 2 pi r. Let's go ahead and replace r with 6. It looks a little bit weird to write 2 pi 6, but because it's all multiplication, you're just going to multiply what you can. 2 times 6 is 12, right? Tack on pi. And circumference is just a length. It's a distance. So there's not going to be inches squared. It's just inches. Okay, so area is how many square inches it would take to actually cover, right? Cover the whole shape. That's what area is. And then circumference is if you were to walk around the circle, how long or what distance would it take to walk around the circle? Okay, so there's problem number one, finding the area and circumference if I give you a circle, and specifically a circle with the radius of 6. Okay, let's take a look at problem number 2 here. Let's see, I've given you, right, if the circumference of a circle is 8 pi inches, I want to know the diameter, the radius, and the area. So I'm going to just off to the side, right, d equals, because that's my diameter, r equals, and a equals. This way I know I'm going to list out the things that I'm asked for. I want to fill them all in. And let's see, we've got circumference as a formula is either one of these two. And so I'm just going to put down d pi for the first part. All right. And I'm telling you in this problem, the circumference is 8 pi inches. So that's circumference. Okay. So circumference is 8 pi. I'll deal with the units in a little bit. And that is equal to d pi. So you can either just look at it and know, which is great, or if we are trying to solve for d, know that you need to divide both sides by pi. So let's go ahead and divide by pi here, divide by pi here, pi and pi cancel. So d is equal to 8. So that's the first answer I can tell you. Diameter is 8. Now, units here are going to be inches. So there is my first answer. Now, if you haven't figured it out or you don't remember, how are diameter and radius related? So what you have in a circle, right, A radius is from the center to an edge. That is a horrible picture, but we'll deal with it for a quick sketch. All right. Your diameter goes across the circle and it goes through the center. So if you think about it, right, you've got from the center to an edge, that's one radius. Center to an edge, that's two radiuses total. So diameter is equal to 2 times the radius. Or you could say your radius is half the diameter. Okay, so if we're using that information and we know that the diameter is 8 inches, well, half the diameter is going to be your radius. That's going to be 4 inches. Okay, and I write huge, so I'm going to do a quick slide over. There we go. And let's talk about area. All right, area is equal to pi r squared, or r squared pi. Order that you write it doesn't matter. And I'm going to replace r with 4. Okay, so 4 squared is 16 pi. And because we're talking about inches, area is going to be 16 pi inches squared. Right, area is always a squared measurement. All right, so number 2 is all done. We've answered all the question. Okay, so let's go down to number 3 here. This time I'm giving you the area of a circle, and I want to find the radius, diameter, and circumference. So again, I'm going to go ahead and just list those things off. Right, radius equals, diameter equals, and circumference is equal to. This way I remember what I have to answer. So area, if I write the formula, area equals pi r squared. And I'm telling you that the area is 25 pi. Again, I'll deal with the units in a little bit. So I'm going to replace area with 25 pi. So 25 pi equals pi r squared. So I want to know what r is. Not r squared, but what r is. So first thing I'm going to do is get rid of pi. So I've got r squared is equal to 25. And that means I'm going to take the square root of both sides. All right, r is equal to 5. Now, in this particular case, normally, mathematically, when you put a square root into a problem, you would need to include a plus or minus here. But because r represents the radius of a circle, and it's a physical measurement, it doesn't have, makes no sense, 0 sense to talk about that being a -5. That does not work, all right? You cannot measure a circle, a physical object, with a radius of -5. All right, so we know our radius. That's going to be 5. Our units here are inches, so 5 inches. We talked about radius is equal to, or actually, hold on, let me back it up. Diameter is equal to 2 times the radius. So if I double up that radius, that's going to get me a diameter of 10 inches. Both of those are just linear measurements, so they're not squared or anything like that. And then circumference, well, circumference is equal to d pi, or 2 pi r, it doesn't matter. Let's go ahead and use the diameter here. Okay, circumference is equal to, diameter is 10, so 10 pi. So that's going to be 10 pi inches for our circumference. Whoops, that looked horrible. I was trying to go over that pi. There it goes. I lost the little kind of definition on that symbol and I wrote it. All right, so number 3 is all done, and let's finish it out with number 4. This time I'm giving you the diameter of a circle, and I want to know the radius, the area, and the circumference. Okay, so I am outright telling you the diameter is equal to 12. So if I want to figure out the radius, I want to do half the diameter. So if the diameter is 12, that means the radius is going to be 6, in this case, centimeters. So that's my first answer. Then if I want to find area, area equals pi r squared. So I'm going to take my radius, in this case 6, and square it. Now let's see, 6 squared is 36 pi, and units here would be centimeters squared. Area is always a squared measurement. And then last but not least, circumference is equal to either d pi or 2 pi r. Let's go ahead and use d pi. So circumference is equal to diameter is 12 pi, and that's going to be 12 pi centimeters. All right, this is where I'm going to cut the video because that was the end of the questions on area and circumference for a circle. As always, if you have any questions or concerns, please do let me know. And other than that, I will see you in the next one.